Hello and welcome to the Cooper Lyden is Alone podcast, a solo podcast hosted by Los Angeles-based stand-up comedian Cooper Lyden. Wow, how exciting is it that you have found this podcast? This is the podcast that every single government in the world is trying to tear down, okay? This is the one secret doctors hate. That's what this podcast is, okay? And this podcast will grow you 3 to 5 inches in under a month. That's true. That's true. And if you don't like hearing it, well, then you're in the wrong place. But we're back for another episode. All the haters thought we wouldn't. They all said we'd stop, and boy, are they shut up now. My day's been going okay. My coffee machine seems to be breaking, which shouldn't be fucking happening because my coffee machine has one button. I don't know how you guys do it, okay? I don't know if you got Keurigs, frauds, French presses, artists, or a Mr. Coffee, which is the working man's coffee apparatus, and that's what I have. It's just, put the grounds in the filter, put water in, you press one button, and it brews you coffee. And somehow that machine that I own has found a way to break because now when I press the button, it has stopped working. And I don't know, I never dropped it. I pressed the button one morning, and then it was different. And I don't know. I just don't understand why some inventions are not perfect. And maybe I sound like a diva here, but if we've been making these fucking coffee machines, for this long, and we're now able to, do routine open heart surgeries, and AI can, write you an entire opera in 30 seconds, I feel like none of that should be happening before we have coffee machines 100% figured out. Because there should be some products that no longer break. There should just be some products that we've just gotten so good at making that we're like, it's a fucking coffee machine. Why would it ever break? But sadly, I think a lot of the innovation and stuff, it just, they make shit out of plastic. They want to make it as cheap as they can. They just want to make it work. They don't want to make it a durable or reliable product. They just want to make it work because the machine is like $30, And that's also the age we're living in, where some machines are very cheap. And machines for a while were not cheap. Not at all. A lot of people couldn't afford machines, but now a lot of people have machines. Everybody has machines, and there are some machines that for some reason, even as a 24-year-old man in 2023, in my head, I'm still like, a coffee machine should cost $100. In my mind, a machine that you can just put grounds and coffee into, and it will make a coffee beverage should be $100. But it's not. You go to Target, and you can buy one of these Mr. Coffees for like $30. And at first, that's kind of exciting, because you're like, wow, this is so cheap, and it's this whole thing that'll make me coffee every single day. And then a year later, the one single button that exists on the Mr. Coffee begins to stop working, and you're like, oh, how did you fool me? I've been fooled for so long. It's almost hard to, you know what I mean? It's like you find out that it's like that show, Who the Fuck Did I Marry? You've been with this person for a while, and now you find out that they're actually a convicted felon or something. And you've already put all your trust into this person, or they've been murdering people this whole time. You've already believed in this whole life that you were going to build with your Mr. Coffee. And when you found your Mr. Coffee, you said, I can't believe nobody's taken you yet. How are you just out here waiting for somebody? And they were so sweet and charming, and you just, everything seemed a little too good to be true. And as of now, my Mr. Coffee is working. But I would say that our relationship is on the rocks for sure. And, I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do because, there's a lot going on in the world right now. And I can't focus on the Mr. Coffee if this isn't working, But anyway, yeah, my Mr. Coffee machine has stopped working along with the presidential campaign of Ron DeSantis. I don't think it ever worked. I gotta say and I'm not up on stuff. I don't read the news enough. I'm not very political, but I gotta say, probably one of the least cared about campaigns in the history of our nation. And it was so interesting because, you almost see the same thing in stand-up where it's like Trump has tapped into something that's it's very easy money, and it's very easy votes, and he pulled it off the first time, and that energy didn't carry to the second. But, it's an easy thing to tap into, that like tribalistic thing. And so I think a lot of other guys like Ron DeSantis were like, great, I'll tap into that. I will board the Trump train, and then I will try and start my own train. But that Trump train really is a Trump train. The only thing that fuels it is Trump coal. And if you throw DeSantis into the train, the engine, which is the base, they can feel it's a difference. And they're not excited by the coal. They don't burn that up excitedly. They sort of take it like, I guess if the other coal is no longer available, and, in their minds, the Trump coal is now illegal in the United States, I guess, in their head. So they'll take the DeSantis. But it is crazy. You think DeSantis actually had a huge opportunity, because if Trump's campaign is fading, which it does actually, sadly, does not seem to be. It seems to be doing really fucking well in polls, and the only thing that's stopping him is certain states are trying to make it illegal for him to be on the ballot. But what I'm saying is, if those states succeed, and he sort of is rendered unable to run for president through various reasons, whoever can pick up that slack can lead the nation. Whether or not they should is debatable. I don't think they should, but I'm saying whoever can just pick up all that residual energy can become the president of the United States. And honestly, I don't know if those people's allegiance is so much to Trump as much as it is to all the ideas that he spread. And as long as you're able to assure them that you are standing for the same things and going to uphold the same things, and maybe even go a little more hard than Trump did, then I think those people will jump on board with you. But then again, maybe that's the reason I'm not a famous person, is I don't understand it. And Trump does. And yeah, maybe it is. It's they love the man himself, which at that point is, he's around. You can find him. He doesn't necessarily need to be your president. Like, I know this is a stupid thing to say, but I'm saying if these people, if they just like Trump so much, and they just like hearing from him, it seems like they like him more the way that people like Rush Limbaugh. He's the guy. It's not always about the words he says. It is, but it's about who's saying it. So at that point, I don't know why Trump, I guess because he's still trying to be president again, is why he hasn't started a TV network like he mentioned, and why he's not hosting a show. Why he's not, I think he's honestly more of a podcaster than a talk show host. I think he should just do podcast. That's enough of an industry now. He can totally do it. I mean, the Cat Williams Club Shay Shay got 71 million views. And the people he mentioned have no real power outside of the entertainment industry. Like, Ricky Smiley can't influence an election, And even within the entertainment industry, I don't know how much pull Ricky Smiley has in 2023. But imagine the views you'd get if Trump went on Club Shay Shay. I mean, that would, if Cat has got, what, somebody said 90 million, if he's got that many millions of viewers, then it has to mean that Trump could get double. Like, if Trump went on there and gave the American government a Cat Williams treatment, the content alone, you think about, like, even just that one video is almost like a new business. Like, there's so much money that could be made by that one video, Then again, he already did that in a presidential campaign. I think that's why his campaign was so interesting to people, is that he did just act like Cat Williams on Club Shay Shay, except he was in the Republican national debate. And, that's what people want. He actually did go full Club Shay Shay on the first debate. He did, because he said, I know these guys are crooks. I've given all of them money, and they've done things I've wanted them to do. I think that might have been the moment. I mean, I think that was actually the one moment where they first realized they might be out of their depth with trying to deal with him. Because if you go back and watch, it starts off, he gets booed. Nobody's really a fan of him, and if they are fans of him, it's a little bit ironic. Like they think like a lot of the convention seems to think it's very funny he's there. And then they get into it, and guys are getting their normal stuff, and then I mean, Shane Gillis has a whole joke about this, but I am trying to think of that. The one specific moment I think that really changed things was just when he did say, "I give all of you money." And none of those guys had a response. I think one of them, maybe Rand Paul, might have had the gall to be like, "No, you don't." But that's not true. Like, he's, so. Also, that's a lie. That's a hilarious lie. That might be the funniest lie in the world. To just be like, "I gave all these guys money. I'm a millionaire." And then they're just sitting there like, "No, he didn't. When did Donald Trump support my campaign? I have no awareness of this. And if I did, it was just a regular donation that came through the funds, and I didn't do anything that you wanted me to do." But I don't know. And I'm trying to get more of a Club Shay Shay attitude on this podcast, the Cat Williams episode of Club Shay Shay. The problem is nobody I know personally has any power in the entertainment industry, let alone the world at large. So, like I could come on here and I could say, today I went rock climbing with my friend Dan Donahue, and I did see him struggle to do a pretty hard wall to climb. And I do have to include, it wasn't an easy wall. I couldn't do it. He also was having trouble with it. But see, right there, I don't really think that's going to flame the fire of culture. You know what I mean? I don't think that's going to get people in the streets, I don't think that Willie D is going to have me on his podcast and be like, "Can you explain everything you said about Dan's rock climbing? Can you explain that?" Because I don't have a lot other to say than that he tried really hard. He got about halfway through the climb, and this is just one climb in a gym of many climbs that he's still trying to sort of figure out. And even that is not a failure as much as it's just the natural process of rock climbing, and really, if anything, the joy of rock climbing, because, I was with him today. He was doing really hard climbs, stuff I can't do. And it's just that one climb that there's a certain portion of it that he struggles with. And I don't think that makes him any less of a friend, a man, or even a rock climber. And maybe I'm being too giving. Maybe that's why I can't be like Cat Williams. You know what I mean? Maybe if I was on Club Shay Shay, I'd say, "Hey, Ricky Smiley, he might be gay, and if he is, that's okay." But that's different than Cat saying he's gay, and he's lying about it, and he's wearing dresses. You know why? Because I made him wear a dress. I don't have any information like that. I've never contractually forced a man to wear a dress. And honestly, I think if I did, I don't know how I'd feel. How would you guys feel? Because in the Club Shay Shay interview, Cat Williams said, "I said that the next movie I do, if Ricky Smiley's in it, he has to wear a dress in the movie." And he goes, "What's the next movie that Ricky Smiley did? Blah, blah, blah." And he was wearing a dress in it, wasn't he? Because of me. I think if I did that, I would drive home feeling really weird. I would be driving home from the Paramount lot, and I'd be like, "That was odd that I made Dan wear a dress in a movie. I don't know why I did that, to be honest." And I would probably go to therapy, and he'd probably say it's from some place of not feeling like you have enough power in the world, so you try and exert it even on those you love. I feel like if I said everything that Cat Williams said, I would probably leave the interview and be like, "Oh, shit, that was a lot." Not even like regret. Like, I'm not even saying Cat Williams shouldn't have said any of that. I don't give a fuck. I think it was fine. These are entertainers. They're not world politics, But I do think I would leave and I'd be like, "I wonder why I did that," That would be my biggest question, is I'd walk out of that and I'd just be like, "Where'd that come from? Am I like really, like, why did I do that?" Because I know I don't like those guys, but like, why did I go and tell everybody, I can't be like that because, yeah, you have to be at least a little successful. Like, if I went on Club Shay Shay and was like, I fucking hate that person, then he was like, why? I'd be like, well, they didn't book me on their show. It's just one of many independent shows in LA. I can ask tons of other people and just work harder and get all the bookings I need, I'm sure. But I really hold a grudge against it, so I don't know. But yeah, I have been rock climbing. I think I talked last week about the 6-year-old that invaded my life. If I didn't go over it, or if you didn't listen, just a quick summary. I was at the rock climbing gym, and I climbed the easiest climb, and then a 6-year-old approached me, and then in front of me climbed the same climb, and then sort of Conor McGregor walked away while looking at me as if to say, I am a baby, and I just climbed the same climb as you. You are a baby. And I left, and it ruined my day. And now I have a joke about it that's been doing okay. So hopefully I can get something out of this kid being the worst person that's ever lived. Sort of a small Chairman Mao, if you will. But I didn't give up. I went back. And I actually had a good day today. I had a good day. I do very easy climbs. I have nobody to impress. And I like that I get a little tired because I don't get actual tired anymore. I just am tired. I just wake up and I'm so tired. And it's nice to do something where your body's like, oh, wow, we're actually tired. Wow, this is like how we're supposed to feel at least once a day. Thanks for doing this, bud. I think sometimes my body is like sort of like a friend that still loves me, but I've neglected, where it's sort of like I'll start rock climbing out of nowhere, and then my body will be like, oh, shit, okay, you've been laying down for like a year and a half, but no, keep going. Please don't hurt yourself. We have no healing ability or endurance or any of that, so you just like be careful. But keep doing it, please. Yeah, that's fun. But it's like a mom, where it's like it's like a mom with a son that's relapsed a lot on drugs, where it's like when they're doing good, it's like, that's great, honey, but you don't put all your cards in that basket anymore. You know what I mean? You just love them as much as you can. And that's what I do. I just try and love myself enough to climb. And yeah, I don't know. It would be nice to not look like a fucking loser all the time. That just seems to be my issue. I don't really have any time in my life where I am ever in a room and I don't look like a weak fucking loser who's not capable of offering anything to anybody. I think the one time that feeling is lessened is when I'm on stage and I'm doing extremely well. Because if I'm on stage and I'm not doing well, the feeling of not having any worth just doubles and triples and quadruples until I sort of just want to explode, I was thinking about the other day, a lot of comedians say this. I don't really like that I had this thought because it makes me feel like a fucking dumbass loser. But I've realized my issue with talking to a lot of people is the only way I can conceive of showing value to other people, like my own value to other people, is to try and make them laugh. But the problem is I'm not always comfortable enough to do things I think are funny because sometimes I think they might be too weird for a new person I'm meeting. So it's like I'd really like to make this person laugh because it would make them feel like I have some sort of value, that I can offer them something, at least in the way of a funny conversation. But I also don't feel comfortable enough with this person to express myself to the point where, now I'm just sort of talking in almost a defensive mode, and I'm trying to say things that I think they would want to hear and are nice things to say. But I have been feeling like a crazy person, because sometimes you do comedy and, it's so fun joking with your friends that sometimes that's all you want to do. And I think in the last couple months, especially because I've been so sad I just don't want to talk about my own life, all I want to do with anybody I know and am even very close with is just say things that are not true, and just go up to Dan and have our classic wonderful conversation where he says, have you seen Jamingus Von Pringle? And I say, no. Does he hang out with Lay's Duckins? And he says, yeah. And, those are fake people. But that makes me more comfortable than admitting that I feel like I've lost the best love I've known in my life. I understand that I'm young and there will be others, but I also don't want to be with anyone else, and I'm ashamed that I seem to have ruined an opportunity for love. I also feel like I'm ruining opportunities for stand-up. And, there's a lot of time and there's a lot of opportunity still in my life, but I do feel like I've squandered a lot already, and that I am not the kind of person that is going to get a lot more in his life with his current attitude and disposition towards work and social activities. So, I don't want to say that to other people. I don't want to say that it just seems like I'm a very fast train heading straight into a wall of his own making. That I'm just somebody that's just going to be consumed by hate, that's not funny enough to be this off-putting, and eventually I'll die poor and bitter and broke. And that's how I'm feeling. That's how a lot of 24-year-olds feel. It's the normal way for a 24-year-old to feel. You should feel this way. If you don't, you should stop investing whatever you're investing in. You're not smart. You're a 24-year-old. You cannot do investment banking. Those are the only guys my age that feel okay about their lives, and it seems unfair, but good for them. But so I just joke with people. I just joke a lot. I've noticed it's probably been too much joking, though, to the point that I think I approach people and they have a look in their eye that's like, all right, what fucking stupid shit is he about to say? Which sucks, because when you believe that trying to make people laugh is your only currency in the world, and then you overuse that currency, now it's almost like you've created hyperinflation, and all these dollar bills of jokes you're throwing out are really worth nothing. And then you go, well, fuck, if this isn't worth anything, then I have nothing to offer the world, which is a bad way of looking at things, because chances are I'm a nice enough guy to talk to. I can make people feel better about themselves and their lives without making them laugh. People in the past have come to me when they have felt bad and sought comfort in my advice or just, open ear. And if I was more into that, I could probably be a more human person, because I noticed that a lot of the people that people really love in the world, especially comedians, but everybody, but especially comedians, because sometimes it's more of a surface level association we have with each other. The people that everybody really loves are the people that they go, he's so nice. He remembers things about you. He asks questions. He remembers your name. He makes you feel like a person. And, yeah, I'm the opposite of that right now. I don't know about you guys. It's really tough. There's something in my brain where I work at the Comedy Store, and so many different people come by, and I'd say about half the people I see, some part of my brain goes, they're not funny, you don't like them, you have no fucking reason to be nice to them. And I think that part of my brain should be like, hey, whatever you think about that person doesn't matter, you should just give them a nice kind of moment for the moment that you're going to be around them, and it really doesn't take that much away from you or your life, and it costs you nothing, and gains you everything to just be genuinely nice, because it puts you in the mind of others as a nice person, and that could maybe be beneficial to you, even in a selfish way, such as more bookings. But yeah, I don't know about you guys. I take a lot of stands in my head that I don't realize I'm taking until, it's a few months later, and I'm like, oh, am I rude to that person? And I think of how I think about that person, and I go, yeah, every time they walk up, I think, oh, God, they're only successful because they fucking run a show, and they're nice, and they post all these clips, and the clips suck. They're just shitty crowd work stuff, and they won't book me on their show, and I don't think they're funny, so now I'm not going to say hi to them. And it's like, just fucking say hi, you freak. These are your coworkers. It doesn't matter if you respect their work. You're not going to write a fucking movie with them. It's a stupid, like bitter artist mentality that's like, well, if I don't respect their art, I don't respect them, and I don't want to talk to them. And it's like, listen, man, it doesn't matter if you respect him as a comedian. Respect him as a person enough to just be nice to him. Because chances are they'll be nice to you back. And the second they're nice to you back, your stupid fucking petty arguments are going to fold like the little slut you are. The minute somebody's nice to me, who I could have hated for years, the minute they're nice to me, I'm like, they're not a bad guy. Come on, I love them. I'll start defending them, After years of calling them, some phony bitch loser or something. I just wish I wasn't the guy that, hates phonies. I don't want to fucking, I don't want to be the fucking Jello Biafra of the comedy scene, okay? He's an amazing musician, lead singer of the Dead Kennedys. But if you act like that in comedy, people don't like you. You know what I mean? It's like you can't have this fucking like young Lou Reed attitude about other people. Like, oh, they're fucking gay. Like, I don't know. I don't have to hang out with all the people I don't like, but it's frankly just stupid to act like I'm not going to see them all the fucking time, and I should at least have a working, positive relationship with them. And I think to most people that's so fucking clear. It's the golden rules. You treat people how you want to be treated. You just be nice to people. Somehow, I have rationalized in my brain different treatment for different people based on my approximation of their value. Not even to me, but to this like made up objective state of good at comedy. You know what I mean? Where I'm just like, they don't get it. They're not part of it. They're not, to me, a real comedian, and so I will not talk to them. And it's like, listen, man, the real comedians are the people who do stand up. Whether or not you think they really love it or they're as fucking cool as you think you are, they're still here. They're real. They're real. They're real people that exist, and they do stand up as much as you do. Whether or not you think it's good, they're here. Fucking be nice to them. I've been trying to remember that. But I don't know. There's also a certain lack of energy I think I have for it. Because I'll be in conversations with people where I'm telling myself, like, you got to be nicer to people. You got to put on a smile. Even if it's just chit-chat, which most of the time it is, put on a smile. If you remember anything they've told you since the last time you talked to them, ask them about it. Kids, podcast, whatever. Ask them how it's going. Make it seem like they exist to you as a person. Because if you don't, you just seem like somebody that doesn't care about anybody. And you seem like you have an attitude, and you seem like you think you're better than people. And that obviously makes people ask the question, why does he think he's better than me? What about him is so good that he sees that I'm not seeing? Chances are their answer is going to be nothing. That guy's just arrogant. They won't even think I'm a bad guy. They don't even have to think I'm a bad comic. They could think I'm good. They could think I'm okay. But they could go, he's okay. I just don't see why he acts like that. He's not fucking Eddie Murphy. It's like, why does he act like that? What about him do I have to suck up to? You know, I think that's how I've accidentally made some people feel with my standoffishness, is that they think that, you know, I think they have to like kiss the ring or something, which I don't, but I also don't like them. So it's a very confusing messages I'm sending out to people with just very subtle cues of not being interested enough in social conversation. I would like to. I would very much like to. You know what I mean? And I wish I was smart enough to just do that well. I have no social intelligence. I don't know about you guys. Maybe some of you guys are young like me, and you're either way, you're not young. You're just starting out a career. You're getting into something, and you feel like you have something to offer for that career. I don't think I'm a great stand-up. I do think I enjoy it a lot. I think I'm better at stand-up than many other things I've tried. For that reason, I think I can offer something to the art form, and I want to be a part of it. I also feel like I lack all the other skills involved with making a stand-up career, like every other one. Like my view of myself as a stand-up comedian, I am like a C+ right now. Maybe a B, but really a C+. Even that is cocky. I'm like a C+ in terms of being good at stand-up. I'm an F at the networking, the being nice to people, the socializing. I'm an F at that. And I'm an F at the business. And somehow I think C+ is going to make up for these other two failing classes. That's a bad GPA. You know what I mean? That's a bad GPA. If I got 6+ C+s in all of these, I could pass. I could maybe make some decent money off of stand-up if I made some better connections. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's always interesting to me, the people that walk into rooms and come out with friends and the people that don't. And I find that I come out without friends. I also find, I think I have a lot to do with that. I think I have everything to do with it. I think it's my decision. It's just, I wonder the people that are very good at socializing. I don't think it's as simple as, you know, they love everybody they talk to, or they just don't care. You know, I think it's some sort of active participation that you get better at, I assume. Because some people I talk to and I'm like, I just don't know how to get excited to talk to you. That's how I feel for most of the people I speak to. I go, I just don't know how to be excited to talk to you right now. There's nothing about this conversation that interests me, and I don't really see what interests you. And therefore, I'm just going to be bad in this one. I don't know what to do. you know? And I think the people that are good at listening to other people and good at being social and creating an open space are really trying to find that thing. And I think they do eventually. I think everybody has something they can talk about that would make me go, what? And I'd be really interested. And I guess I'm just not trying hard enough to find it. And I'm not like I hate small talk guy, you know? I will say I have trouble sort of getting out of it, especially when I'm sober and it's in a new place and I'm just trying to be normal, you know? Because if I come drunk, I've talked about this before, I'll go up to drunk people and be like, what's your job? And they tell me, and I'm like, what's your dream job? And they tell me, and I'm like, why don't you do that? And then it's like this whole thing about their life, and I like listening to that. Because I do that, there's a part of me that knows I love people. I think the funniest part about all this, and about a lot of people like me that are just dicks and they don't know why, is that we love people. We're not able to bring out what we love in them and to appreciate what we're getting enough to wait for it to come out. You know what I mean? Because I love people. Everybody has such a weird life. If you talk to anybody, especially the most boring guy you can think of, if you talk to him, there's probably something just fucking odd about it. And a good part of it is chances they don't know. One of the most fun conversations you have is somebody tells you something and you go, really? And they're like, yeah, I do that all the time. And you're like, that's insane. And they're like, oh, I didn't think about that. And not insane in a bad way, but you're like, that's just really interesting you do that, man. And they're like, yeah, I don't know. I've just been, I just make all my own sweaters. And you're like, I've been seeing you walking around in sweaters all the time. I thought you were going to Kohl's. You're making these? That's crazy. That kind of stuff is probably happening around me all the time. I'm just not finding it. I don't know how to be interested enough. I want to be interested. My grandma was amazing at it. She's like my mentor for life. I would visit her every week growing up, pretty much until she died. I did slack a little. I started going every 2 weeks to only a month, and I felt horrible about it. But this is the gayest thing I'll ever say. I did, at least when she was fucking alive, considered her my best friend. Because our relationship grew from more than just like grandma, grandson. You know what I mean? We talked every week. We're very similar. I came from her bloodline, so obviously the way I think we're going to match up. So we would have really long conversations about all sorts of things, you know? And really, if I look back, I was doing a lot of the talking. And I was doing a lot of the talking because she's a grandmother, and hearing your grandson speak and have these ideas must be fucking amazing. To the point that I never felt too bad about doing a lot of the talking, because I did feel like our weekly visits were for her as a grandma to, you hear about the week of a young person and you're like, that's crazy. I didn't do any of that. You know what I mean? So I could, she enjoyed it and she had a lot of great things to say. And obviously I wouldn't railroad her, she'd talk anytime she wanted to. She just loved listening. And that was a lot of her life. Is she was an artist, a painter, studied art history at UCLA. A lot of amazing paintings. I have some. And she did not really pursue that professionally because she fell in love in college. Her husband, my grandpa, wanted kids. She was not a huge fan of that, but had kids. And, the story of so many amazing, beautiful women giving up that light in themselves to raise a family and create a new light. Then again, the light of the art didn't die. She had a studio. She painted her whole life, but she couldn't pursue it as a career. So that was her work. And I don't mean this to denigrate her art, but I will say I feel like her truest passion, though, was people. She was really good at just amazing at people. She made everybody feel listened to and heard, and she had this kind of advice that was helpful but not demanding. The greatest advice she ever gave me is I was having trouble with my family. Like my dad and my brother were off the rails, and my mom was, divorcing my father. So there's a lot of bad stuff. And I remember I asked my grandma a very childish question, but that's how broken I was. I just asked, I go, when is this going to end? When does this end? Because it just keeps going, and it's very bad. When is this going to end? And she goes, I said, when's it going to get better? And she said, I don't know. I don't know when it's going to get better. I can tell you things will change. I can tell you a year from now, things will be very different than they are today. I don't know if they will be better, but they simply cannot be the same. And that was like I think the greatest advice you can give anybody about almost anything. is that if in this life we're looking for something stable, something to hold on to, the one thing you can definitely hold on to is change, which is a funny kind of rock on the wall to hold on to because it changes its shape. But as long as you move and accept the fact of change, then you can actually live what can feel like a somewhat stable life, in that it's not full of surprises, because the surprises aren't surprising. They're just the symptoms of inevitable change that you've already accepted. That was amazing advice. And, she just knew how to listen. And when she died, I said, the biggest thing I learned from her was that the greatest thing you can do in life is creating an open space for people. That when they talk to you, they feel like they can say anything, and they feel like they can express themselves, and they don't feel judged. And sometimes, beautifully, in those conversations, you not only allow somebody to open up, but you allow them to learn more things about themselves through their conversation and replies to the things you have to say. Because sometimes there's something itching inside somebody. Maybe they want to start stand-up, maybe they want to start a business, maybe they want to break up with somebody, maybe they want to ask somebody out. It's just itching inside of them. And their heart knows it, but their brain doesn't yet. And they can't let their brain know that by themselves. There's just everything in their head, the defense mechanisms, the coping, all that is stopping them from doing or even realizing this one thing. And maybe sorry, I'm hitting the mic a lot. If you provide an open enough space for somebody else through that conversation you're having with them, will finally unlock that burning thing that's just been knocking at the door. And they wouldn't have really been able to realize that unless they had you there in front of them telling them, oh, you like stand-up? There are open mics. You can go to them and you can do it. Or whatever it is. You don't like her, you deserve to be happy. Go, And even that's not the best advice, because that's kind of telling somebody what to do. What really I'm saying is, if somebody could tell all you that, and if you just listen, they could hear, it could now exist in the world and exist in somebody else's head, and that could change their fucking life. You know what I mean? And yeah, I'm dog shit at it. I'm okay when I'm drunk. I get into moments, you know what I mean? But I realize the way that I like to find out about people is a little aggressive and not really social, and not something I like to do with people I don't know. Because, sometimes I'll do this thing with my friends, which I think is fun, and they don't really realize it's a bit until they're halfway through. But I'll just be like, how's it going with your wife? And they'll be like, good. And I'll be like, great. Have you guys ever thought about kids? I'll just start asking, huge questions. I'm like, have you guys thought about kids? And they're like, a little bit. And I'm like, yeah? What? Are you kind of less? And then all of a sudden, two sentences into a conversation, they're like, I'm a little worried about having kids, yeah. And that's a really vulnerable moment, and now you're having it together. And if you do it with your friends, especially my friends that are comedians, they'll start laughing at me and be like, what are you doing? And sometimes I want to be like, let's just stay in it. Just whatever we're doing right now, let's just keep doing it. If you're comfortable enough, let's just keep going. You just said you're afraid to have kids, but your wife wants them. That's fucking exciting. Let's talk about it, But that's also kind of me almost selfishly enjoying somebody else's life. I don't know. I think sometimes I almost treat people like just bastions of information in movies, where I'm like, just give me the good stuff. I want to hear about it. But that doesn't, I don't know if that really does anything for them. I think it can if somebody has something they need to let out and you're excited and accepting to hear it, then it can help them. But even then, they might be like, I don't really feel listened to. I feel like this is almost entertainment for this guy listening, So it's weird. It's like, I don't know how I'm so interested in other people and yet still so selfish in conversation enough to not be able to just sort of do it naturally. I don't know. So I'm working on that, trying to get through it. But it's also tough because working at the Comedy Store is a blessing and a curse, because you get to be a door guy. You get to be at the Comedy Store. You get to see all the other comics. They get to see you as a door guy at the Comedy Store. It should all be gravy. The problem is, I'm at work. And when I'm seeing a lot of these other comics, they're seeing me at work. And I'm unhappy at work. A lot. Even if it's the easiest fucking job in the world. Such as being a door guy at a comedy club that all you have to do is seat people and then watch a fucking show. But the problem is sometimes people come and they'll be like, they're just hanging at the store. So they're like, hey, good to see you. And I'm like, hey. And you can't expect people to go, well, he's working. He's probably stressed. It's probably not personal. It's very normal that those people could think, I guess he doesn't like me. Or think, that guy's a dick, And And it's so funny because I wish I could tell those people. I walk away from all those conversations with a deep well of regret that I couldn't just be nice in that one moment. I want to turn back and go, hey, I didn't like that either. I'm sorry. It's good to see you. I think you're funny. You're great. And I'm sorry I didn't say hello very nicely. But I also don't do that because I don't think that my opinion of other people matters to them at all. So I feel like if I did that, I'd be like, hey, I know you think I'm fucking amazing, and I'm giving you the flowers that you need from me because I'm so powerful. And, I don't know if either. I think I can just do that, and the person would probably not think that I'm a douchebag. They probably think, well, that was a little odd, but nice of him to say. That's where we're at. That's what we're trying to deal with. I'm going to go pee really quick, and then we'll be back in just a moment. Thank you so much. And we're back. We had a hot 42 minutes of coffee-fueled diatribes on my social ineptitude. And we're back talking just a little more about it and then seeing if we can find another topic. Boy, would it be good if this solo podcast was about the news or other things people were aware of. I think I'm the only person doing a solo podcast that is purely about things happening within my own head, which is maybe the most arrogant podcast that's ever existed, and I think that's a little bit impressive. I did have an odd thing the other day. I was sitting at the back door, and I was feeling all the things I've just talked about not being too social with people, and, really a rock and a hard place of like, I want people to come up to me and be excited to see me. I'm also not really doing enough to make me a person that anybody's excited to see. And also the people that are excited to see me and talk to me, I don't like talking to a lot of the time. Like when you're at the back door, this thing happens where you have to spend probably a combined 3 hours talking to various people who you don't think are very funny about how cool the Comedy Store is. And it's such a weird feeling because I'm sitting at the Comedy Store and I know I'm so lucky to have that job, but I'm also pissed because I'm at fucking work and I hate sitting at the back door. And then you have somebody come up and they're like, isn't this the best being here? God, this is amazing. And you're pissed about your job and you're pissed about how much of a fucking loser you are. And you're just like, in your head, you're like, would you shut the fuck up, okay? Because this place is a crystal palace that I seem to not know how to be a working part of. And it's like a blessing and a curse every fucking moment. And I kind of resent this place sometimes just because I'm not the coolest person here. So, no, it's not fucking awesome being here. It is a goddamn nightmare that I am creating for myself. That could be an amazing, wonderful thing. You talk about all the things you can ruin in your own brain. I mean, it's like being a 24-year-old who gets to be a door guy at one of the most popular comedy clubs in the world is a pretty good gig. And it's a gig that should make the 24-year-old feel like things are okay, that they're not that bad, that getting to work at the Comedy Store is a sign that things are going okay in the career, and I don't have to think I'm a fucking loser because of that. Because many of the most successful comics in the world have shared the same job as me, which doesn't mean I will have their success, but means that I'm in places they have been, and that's always a good sign. And somehow, it's just not gravy, But I don't know. I'm hoping things will work out, I'm hoping by the time I'm 30, I have a radically different look. I like seeing that. That's one thing that makes me feel a lot better is I look at old pictures, because most of my friends are about, 5 to 6 years older than me, which at the age of 24, that's a big jump. That's jump from early to still early, but somewhat later adulthood where things change. And it's a big change. You see a picture of your friend who's 32 when they were 25, and they have this hair that just makes no sense, and they have these clothes that make no sense. And you look at them and you wonder, like, I wonder why they ever dressed like that. Like, why did they think that was them, But like my friend, like he used to have hair and he would dress a lot different. And now he shaved his head. He's got all these tattoos. And he just looks right. He just looks the way he should look for who he is and what he's into. And it's like, it's cool when people's outward appearance finally matches their inward self to an extent, because it shows that it's one of the easiest seen examples of somebody finding themselves and figuring things out and being comfortable with themselves and more so embracing themselves. Like tattoos are such a cool thing because like my friend, his name is Joel Jimenez. He's a very funny comic. He was on Kill Tony. But yeah, his style used to be very different. He was always into punk and stuff, but like he had no tattoos. From the old pictures I've seen, he had hair. He'd wear a lot of polo shirts. Now He's got these sick-ass tattoos, shaved head. It's his look. It's the obvious look for him. He looks great. He feels good, too. You can tell. And tattoos are so cool because it's somebody being like, yeah, this is all this. I figured out I like this. And I'm showing it. I'm literally, it's like exuding from my skin how I feel myself, you know? That's exciting. And I look at myself right now and I think, I don't know what's wrong. But I know that this isn't the look, the attitude, the vibe of who I really am. Not what I want, even, but who I am, you know? And yeah, I hope that when I'm 32, I look back at pictures of me right now and I go like, what was I thinking? You know, or I look back at old videos of my subject matter and the way I acted and I was like, why was that the move, you know? And hopefully I can look back with love as a more healthy, well-adjusted person and say, well, you were in a bad place back then and blah, blah, blah. I don't know, but I need fucking something to change drastically. And I know I'm not doing enough for it to change. I also don't know what I need to do for it to change other than keep living and participating in this fucking awful slog. I don't know. I also just realized yesterday, I think I'm sad because I don't want to grow up, which is weird because people have always told me I'm mature because I'm very depressive. That's just what makes people think you're mature. But I'm not actually mature in the way of being able to take care of myself. Like right now, I'm a 24-year-old. I'm able to make coffee. I'm able to cook for myself. But I'm not also able to make efficient and frequent market runs. I'm not going to the doctor as much as I should be. I'm not doing all the errands that go along with being an adult. And all these errands have been, thrust upon me as they are anybody that tries to kind of live on their own. And I think I'm so resistant to just accepting that I have to do them all the time. And it's embarrassing to realize that, you're not really depressed as much as you are just being a baby. And you're like, damn, I thought I was better than this. You know what I mean? And then you just realize you're not. And you're like, God damn, am I really that dumb that I just don't fucking like growing up, But I don't know, maybe once I could figure out how to spend the right amount of money and get the right amount of food at the market and wake up at the right time and do some amount of exercise that helps me enough, then I could just not be a fucking asshole, It's almost like everybody I meet, I almost want to tell them like, hey, I'm a bad version of myself right now. I'm probably going to be for the next 5 years. I hope you can just give me a little grace. And anything you don't like about me, I hope I probably don't like it about myself either, I just don't know how it works because there are other 24-year-olds with all the same problems as me, and somehow they're able to be so kind. But, I think we're good at what we're good at, and, I'm not good at podcasting. I'm not good at being nice to people, and chances are this career is leading to a life of a studio apartment in Van Nuys and hosting an open mic full of convicted sexual offenders who are no longer allowed in other comedy scenes. That's probably what I'm going to be. And I bet if I didn't think that, things would be going better. I don't know a lot about manifesting. I go real back and forth. Sometimes I think about performing at SoFi Stadium. Other times I think everybody hates me and wants me to die. So I think I'm sending my brain very confusing messages where it's like, do we want to be Kevin Hart or do we think we're going to die? And it's like, a little bit of both, and maybe that's a good act. Maybe that's something people would buy tickets to. Or maybe it is the same formula that has ruined hundreds of thousands of comedians years and years and years and years and years before I've even entered the world, And it just sucks that I could just be making all these decisions, small decisions. I don't want to talk to them. And all these decisions all the time that are slowly chipping away at a foundation that I could use for some sort of career and excelling myself in life in general. And yeah, it's an odd thing to just sort of feel like you're making the wrong decisions and not know what to do instead. It's like you're walking on a path with like cut feet and you're like, I gotta get shoes. Where are the fucking shoes? Why does everybody have shoes? Where'd they get the shoes? Do they make them themselves? And they're like, yeah, I just made them myself. And you're like, oh my God. That seems exhausting to me. And they're like, that's what you have to do to be alive. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, So I don't know. I really, I don't know if being good with other people requires a certain well of self-esteem. I think it does. I think to be a good person for other people to talk to, you have to not worry them and make them feel like you are something's wrong with you, you know? And I have a hard time. People ask me how I'm doing, and all I have to say is good, because if I told them the truth, it would be a long conversation they don't really want to be in, you know? And it's not me being like, oh, I'm so fucked up and twisted, I'm understood. It's just like, I'm just aware that I'm a pretty bad time right now, and I don't really want to subject anybody else to it. But I've also been a bad time right now since, probably about half my life at this point. I feel like ever since 12, I've been a pretty bad time to be around. So it's just been 12 years of just in my head being like, don't fucking bother. Don't talk. Don't do that. Stop. No. And I think right now is the time I'm supposed to have some unhealthy amount of confidence that people talk about 24-year-olds having. I don't have it. I'm hoping that this self-hate will eventually blossom into self-acceptance in my late 80s. But you know, I don't know. So that's what we're dealing with this week. Sorry I didn't talk about a single thing that is relatable or understandable to anybody except myself. But I hope that there were moments of it that were funny. And I hope that at least the energy and the looking in the camera was a little more enjoyable than the rest of our very antisocial, angry episodes that we put out on a weekly basis. By the way, please come back. I'm fucking trying to make this podcast better to watch because I know it's not good. It's been a year. Nobody's fucking listening. So there's something we're doing wrong. I think there's something we're doing wrong in every aspect. I think the marketing of the podcast, posting one clip every 3 weeks, probably not going to do it. I think the general disposition I have and the lack of knowledge on anything other than myself, probably not the best. Then again, can we make it interesting? Was this relatable? If it wasn't, you're too social. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you guys next week. I love you so much. Bye-bye.